The reality of trauma. All right, so Cory had this night of regret. He learned his lesson and was ready to move on. Cool, right? Except one problem. What was just a one-time mistake for Cory was the beginning of something so much darker for Shawn Hunter. Because when you grow up with trauma, addiction isn't just a bad decision, it's an escape. And Shawn, he was about to learn that the hard way.
How did that just happen?
So let's break it down. So the next day, Cory shows up to school, ready to put the whole thing behind him. But when Shawn walks in, he's still drunk. And that's when we realize Shawn wasn't drinking to have fun. He was drinking to cope and to forget. See, trauma doesn't just disappear when you ignore it. It buries itself deep, waiting for any excuse to rise back up. And for Shawn, alcohol wasn't just a bad choice. No, it was an open door. And when his brother Jack steps in, we see how deep these wounds run. So Jack tells Shawn the truth. Alcoholism runs in our family. Their dad, Chet, he wasn't just a rough around the edges guy. We find out he was actually an abusive drunk, and Jack's mother left him because of that. Shawn didn't like this hard truth, so what does he do? Him and Jack start tussling. And now Jack is looking at Shawn, terrified. Why? Because history is repeating itself again in his family. And then the breaking point. Shawn, drunk and spiraling, shoves Angela against the wall. Like, yo, what are you doing? And in that instant, he sobers up, because that moment, that single moment, showed him the thing he was most afraid of. How did that just happen? He says. And that line, that's everything. Because when you're in pain, when you're running, when you're numbing yourself just to get through the day, you don't even realize what you're becoming. And let's be real, how many of us have been there before? Maybe not with alcohol, maybe not with violence or with drugs, but something. Running from the truth, using whatever we can to escape reality. Until one day we look in the mirror and we don't even recognize ourselves. And just like Shawn, just like Cory, I've made tons of mistakes in the past. Ruined relationships. I've been divorced. I've ruined business deals. Why? Because of my own trauma and my inability at the time to face reality. Using everything else to avoid the truth. I was the problem. And that's why this episode hit so hard. And later on in this episode, we see that Shawn not only apologizes, he faces the damage he's caused. He steps up to Mr. Matthews, to Angela, to Mr. Feeney and others, and he owns it. He takes responsibility before it's too late, and that's the lesson here. Now, any Boy Meets World fan knows that Shawn will have alcohol problems later, but for now, he's dealing with it the best he can. And from a storyline perspective, let's remember we're still dealing with kids. But as adults, we all can relate to this on some level. Because let's be honest, life will break you down. It will. You will mess up, you will regret things, and when that moment comes, you have two choices. Face it head on or run. Cory Matthews ran, but he had a safety net. Shawn, he had no such privilege. His trauma had been waiting for an opening, and the moment he let his guard down, it took hold. And that's why we have to be careful what we lean on when life gets heavy, whether it's alcohol, relationships, work, or even just pretending everything is fine. Here's some truth for you. If you don't deal with the root of the pain, it will deal with you. So if you take anything from this, take this point right here. Don't allow a bad moment to turn into a bad habit. Face your demons now before they turn you into someone you never thought you would be. And face your demons now so that none of us have to deal with your stuff because you refuse to deal with it. Because like Shawn learned that day, you don't want to look back and ask yourself, how did that just happen? This isn't just a Boy Meets World episode. This is life. This is addiction. This is trauma. It's accountability, regret, and redemption, all wrapped into 22 minutes of TV that hits harder than many real life day-to-day conversations. I am the Nostalgia King. Stay safe, stay sober, and stay loving. And remember, if you don't fight your demons, they will end you and everything else around you.